Callum Brittain has signed for Boro, and this is the Lowdown. Middlesbrough signed Callum Brittain from Blackburn for a fee of $3.5 million on a 4-year deal. But what is he like? Well, before you get my opinion, let's hear Mark from the Rovers end about their former right back.
Hello, it's Mark from the Blackburn Podcast. Unfortunately for us, it's discussing one of our better players that's now moved on to yourselves, Callum Brittain. He's, I think it's particularly in terms of his attacking element, he's one of the best right backs in the league. I didn't see another one that was better at Ewood or when I went away last year. He's somebody who's been at the club for 3 years now. He came from Barnsley. Played the first season under Yondal Thomason, who played more of an inverted right back, and he struggled a little bit that season with injuries as well. Couldn't really get any floor, and he was interchanged a lot with the other right back, who was Joe Rankin Costello at the time. But then the last 2 seasons, he's played much more. He's become much more important, much more influential. His energy levels are unbelievable. He gets up and down that wing, but he's played really, really high up for us. He's got some goals, got some assists. Not loads, but he is a right back. He's also very good defending one-on-one. I just think that he is a good all-round right back who can definitely play right wing back as well. I think he does struggle sometimes in the final third if somebody faces him up. I think he did start out as a winger, and you can see why he's become a right back. But once he's got grass in front of him and he's got more space, he's a very, very good fullback. So we'll be very disappointed to see him go. I think they're talking about $3.5 million. He only had a year left on his contract. That's probably a fair deal, to be fair, but I think you guys will be impressed. He needs to he's never had injuries before he came to Rovers, and that first season he was out about half the season with niggles, and then 2 seasons ago he played pretty much every minute. Last season he did have a bit of a knee injury and then another niggle at one stage. So that would be my only concern with him, really. But I think you've got yourselves an absolutely cracking player, and it's a shame for us, but it is what it is.
Well, thank you, Mark. But that's not all. We asked a few more Blackburn fans for their opinion as well. And kicking things off with B, and they said he's excellent, the best right back in the league. Won't find another right back who crosses the ball with quality like him. He loves to bomb forward, never lets you down, and he will be missed. Dave says that he's a superb attacking outlet. That right-hand side gets forward, puts good crosses into the box and scores the odd goal as well. A massive loss for us, but a huge gain for you. The only downside is that he picks up some injuries in his time here, keeps him fit, and you're laughing. And then finally from Brian, it says massively improved going forward last season and is a threat. Still defensively and positionally not great, but very good at this level. Some of our fans go way overboard on him though. So, well, what's my opinion? Well, I actually really like Callum Brittain as a player. When I've been watching him over the last couple of weeks, I've become a really big fan because initially when you do look at other teams, you don't really get into the detail as much. You look at players and you go, okay, yeah, I quite like him. I quite like to look at them. They might fit quite well. But as we start to get links, I start to really delve into the detail around these type of players. And when I was watching Callum Brittain, there was one former Boro player which stylistically he reminded me of. And I feel like you might not be able to guess it. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if you do. Did you get it? It was Sam Elling Jr. Sam Elling Jr. for me is a very comparable player. I think he progressed the ball really well, loves to get forward, really strong on the recovery run. And their data is really reflected on that. And I think where you are looking at players stylistically and who can improve Middlesbrough, I think that Sam Elling Jr. was a brighter spark in a really torrid end to the season. And you could really start to see his quality slowly starting to come through. But I think with Callum Brittain as well, I think what I really love most about him right now is that his delivery into the box, that crossing under pressure as well, has a really good eye. And then it's always quality. And I think that is really, really strong asset to have, especially when you look at what Rob Edwards wants to do with his wingbacks. And before we go into his strengths, I actually do want to chat about Edwards and how he uses his wing-back system, because We spoke in the last lowdown about how Kante may shift the dial and how we want to use our midfielders this season, especially if Hayden Hackney was to leave the club, given that he has just turned down and moved to Ipswich, but he still will be linked away until the final day of the window. And when we spoke about Kante, we spoke a lot about how the double pivot will actually change. Morris will become more of a pressing 8, and Kante will become that 6 who will just sweep across the back 3. And when you speak about his fullbacks, though, this is where the game is actually a little bit different to what we've seen previously. However, it's still very much in the same shape. And that's in the 3-2-5 system. And this is where, if you've watched Middlesbrough so far in pre-season, this is where, in possession, this is how they tend to look. I've drawn the white lines there just to really show the actual vertical play that what Middlesbrough want to do. And if you listen to us, actually, when you look at Middlesbrough's centre-backs this year, they will look to try and bypass the midfield and play straight into the 10s and then get Boro playing. And what their aim is to either get the ball into Conway or get that ball right out wide to the wing-backs. And there's two things I want you to remember about the wing-backs, especially with Rob Edwards as well, is one, regain the ball within 5 seconds, win it early, that getting a press that we spoke about previously. And then secondly, in possession, get the ball high, get it wide, and get that ball in the box as quick as you can. And Middlesbrough will play this shape as well throughout the season this year. We might alternate, of course, but it's also not too dissimilar of what we would see under Mike Carrick in that 3-2-5 shape. But your double pivots are a lot more deeper, protecting the 3. But it's your wingers and your wing backs now for this reason who will really provide the width for Boro this year. So on Brittain himself then, what are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? Well, I've actually used the four-corner model to actually do this. The four-corner model is like an FA development model. You'll see scouts do it quite regularly when they are looking at players and wanting to see if they're right for the club. So I thought I'd dissect it into these 4 different type of pillars. I want to kick things off with technical and actually give him a 4 out of 5 for this. And I think there was 4 things that I really liked about Callum Brittain, or objectively really liked about him when I've been watching the clips. I think his ball striking and his ability to get the ball in the box has some really good variation there, some good zip, and also he's really good at that cut back as well and getting a striker who's on the edge of the box to whip it across goal into the back of the net. He was actually one of the top percentiles for this in terms of accuracy for crossing. And then additionally as well, progressive passing and also carrying the ball in that link play. What I really liked about this as well was his ability to always play forward on his first touch. He'll always try and shift the ball diagonally and also will get the ball down the line rather than recycling the play, which we've seen quite frequently under Michael Carrick over the last couple of seasons. Additionally, as well, carrying a link in the play and also delivery under pressure. I think he is really, really good at bursting ahead of the defenders and also getting this held down the line. And then additionally to that as well, that delivery under pressure, which I alluded to a little bit earlier on, his ability to actually keep the ball, but then additionally to that as well, get the ball in the right area at the right time. And if you're a striker, you are rubbing your hands and you are very, very happy with what this could potentially be. But then moving on to this as well is that tactical ability. So that tactical ability for me is someone who can read the game really well, knows where they are, know what to do in certain situations, and also combat it when they are defending. Additionally to that, the 3 things I actually pulled out from this where I think is really valuable insight for you is actually really comfortable in a back 3 and a back 5. Boro will want to change systems this year, and Rob Edwards has said on record that he will like Middlesbrough to play with a 4 or a 5 at times this year. Comfortable in both, very, very active in the counter press, very similar to how Rob Edwards wants to play, regain the ball in 5 seconds, and he did that at Blackburn too, and also a vertical passer. Now, we spoke a lot around Rob Edwards' style, and where I've even said on record, I think Boro will progress technically, and where technically I mean around possession, moving with rotations, trying to get the ball to play. Middlesbrough are playing a lot more vertically now, and we've seen that on the last couple of slides on the graphic where we've shown Middlesbrough's possession in that 3-2-5, where we would bypass the centre midfielders and play straight to the number 10s. Similarly with that as well, where normally we'd look to utilise the play and play from more like either tippy-tappy nonsense, as people would call it, or additionally keeping that possession and then trying to find an opening, an overload, and then get the ball into the right area. But next thing up on the 4-corner model is actually physical. physicality. How do you measure physicality in data? You can actually look at it more with the quantitative data in terms of his running stats. But given that I don't have that, I have to use a bit of a proxy around ball recoveries. He was really intense in that, and he was able to win the ball back. But also, he's very, very aggressive when he's intercepting the play. And I thought that was a really good thing for us to look at. And then additionally as well, aerial, I would say I put it as aerial competence over dominance. I don't think he wins as many headers that he probably should do. He's definitely more selective, but I think one big flag that I have noticed, I would say, with Jones and with Brittain, if teams target that right centre-back line, if someone's got a really physical centre-forward, I think we may struggle. But again, not many teams play with that very physical centre-forward in the division. Looking at Millwall, most likely, who will play that long ball style, where teams in this division have been trying to play more in possession, dominate the play, and there's not many teams now who will actually be very successful in that long ball. Probably a Wrexham who might get to about 18th, 19th this year, or even mid-table playing that way. But it's very, very hard to make that adjustment up in the league. And then finally as well, we alluded to it in the Rovers conversation, but I've actually said that he is quite durable. 75% of his games he has played this year. And yes, he does have injuries. Every player has injuries. Boro have been the worst culprits for having injuries over the last few seasons, and everyone will get them. The intensity is getting higher. The games are getting longer. Players are playing more games. So it is going to happen. It's not just Middlesbrough. It is holistically across football that we are starting to see that now. But I think playing 75% of your games, 4 out of 5, is still very, very good going for Callum Brittain. So I thought it was a really good strength to have. And then finally, as we round things off, psychological. Now, you can look at data and you'll never get a full understanding of it. So you have to watch a player. And I think we'll see more of this as we see him live, and he's in a Boro shirt and it'll progress, and you'll hear more of like the leadership traits, because I think he definitely has that in him. I thought he was very vocal in some of the selected clips I could see. But I thought he was very relentless, very, very relentless, energetic going forward. Loved to get up and down the pitch, get the ball in the box, which I really, really liked about him. Very competitive in his duels, engaged really well, good in that interception. That's how I used a bit of a proxy in the previous part of the show. And then finally to that as well, bravery in possession. So someone who's always ambitious, looking to get the ball forward and trying to get Boro to play vertical, like Rob Edwards wants us to play. So I'm very, very happy with this deal. I think that Callum Brittain is a good signing for us. I think it's really solid, and I can understand why Middlesbrough made Callum Brittain a top priority. When you look at what Rob Edwards wants in a fullback, and you look at the profile of what we've got with Callum Brittain, I think they align very, very well. Now, I know Middlesbrough didn't want to pay over 3.5 million for a player who is just hitting his peak at 27 and will get probably the best 4 years out of him if you're looking at it from an average age standpoint. But I just think that this ticks every box that you would want if you're Rob Edwards right now. Adaptable, can play in the 3, can play in the 5, good getting forward, create different options. And given that you are playing with wing backs, this is one of the most pivotal parts in a back 3 or a back 5 is that outlet, and it's that wing back. And if you have 2 very, very good wing backs and 2 of them who are very, very direct, you can create a lot of problems and create more variety in the play, which Middlesbrough did lack towards the back end of the last season. So how do I rate it out of 5? Well, for a championship right back coming into his prime, I really can't fault this deal one bit, to be honest. And I think we suit the way that he wants to play as well. Can run at players, gets the ball in the box very well, creative. I would say he's relatively quite good defensively. The one downside is I would say 1v1, he could just be a little bit better, but 1v1 is all about the attacker for me. And if they're able to get past their man, then that is what you exactly want. So that's maybe something to look out for. But in terms of a deal, I think it's a 4.5 or 5 out of 5. I'm really, really happy with it. I think it's a really good sign for Boro. I'm going to say 4.5 is just we could have got him for a little bit less, I think, earlier in the window. So we think we might have just paid a little bit more than what I would hope for Middlesbrough. But for a championship fullback, I don't think we can fall off one bit. I think it's a really good bit of business from us. So that's it. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. But this has been the lowdown on Callum Brittain, and that was our Boro Matchday Chat in a pod. Up the Boro.